Hello, everyone, and welcome back to day 6 of our Cybersecurity Awareness Month series. So, what are we covering today? Phishing and phishing with a spear. So, we're going to just cover what the basics are. And if you haven't received a phishing email by now, let me know in the comments below because I think you're a rarity these days. But what has changed is the proficiency at which basically this is done through email. The emails have really stepped up their game. The bad guys are pulling from, I think, a template library of what the actual banks do send out. So it has their logo. Sometimes it links right back to the bank. So if you were to look at the pictures and stuff that are inside the email, they actually link right back to the bank's stuff, which is kind of scary because if you kind of hover over the wrong thing, you might see that something's coming from your bank. But I'm getting a little ahead of myself. So let's talk about a couple of ways you can tell. So the first and foremost used to be language. You used to be able to pick up the spelling errors and kind of weirdly spaced things and some odd fonts and stuff like that. Not so much anymore. These things are pretty much the way they would come from the bank. So minus that, how else would you know? Well, there's really two places that you're going to look. One is the sending email address. Now, there's 3 spots really for an email address that you have to check. You have the name, which you can pretty much disregard, except for maybe some spelling stuff. The next one is the sent from address, which that should match the domain of it, should match the domain of your bank perfectly. No misspellings, no extra letters, no .eu instead of .com or something else instead of .com. It should all match. It should be exactly the same as if you went to your bank's website. The second thing you have to watch out for is the reply to address, because that can be manipulated separately. And depending on what client you use to actually read your emails with, you may or may not have access to that email header. So that could be a little tricky. The second part you want to do is if anywhere in there they have a button that links you to the site to bring you to check something, to log in, just hover over it and take a look, just out of curiosity, because you're never going to touch any links out of an email. Really, if you can avoid it entirely, I would make that a very good cyber practice, is to not follow any links out of any email, even if you know perhaps where it comes from. If you know how to get there in other ways, I would always go the other way and manually input that information. But if you do hover over it, again, that domain should match exactly. So if it doesn't, well, then obviously you just delete the thing and call it all good. But what if it does? What if we do have a match here? Well, again, I would just log into the website. Let's say it is your bank. Log into your bank account and take a look. And whatever kind of notice that they're giving you there should be given on your website. Now, if it's something that may not show up there, pick up the phone and call and just explain that you've received this email. You're suspicious that it is perhaps a phishing email. You do not want to click on the link. You've logged into your account, but you don't see anything. And they should be able to tell you right away without even really batting an eyelash and asking for all your account details, whether or not that's something the bank would even send. Now, my bank, who shall remain nameless, probably wouldn't know that, but they could verify that information for us anyway. So either way, by talking to a person, you're going to resolve it. So that's your typical phishing email. And again, if you haven't received any phishing emails ever, well, let us know. As long as you have an email address, let us know. Maybe I'll send you an example of what one looks like so that you can actually be on the lookout. And I would also probably purchase a lottery ticket because you're probably one of the luckiest people there are. So let's go into what spear phishing is. So what in the world is spear phishing? We know what phishing is. What's spear phishing? Well, spear phishing is when they use something to give themselves some type of authority that they are who they say they are without kind of proving who they are. Commonly, this is done by either giving you information about your account or something pertaining to your account or a past order or something like that, where it would be information that you would only expect the sender to know. The second part would be it's coming from a sender that you do know. And it could just be that, well, unfortunately, that sender's email account may have been compromised. So not only would they be able to send you an email, they would actually have privy to any conversations you might have had previously. So you have to be very careful with those, as they are getting very, very good at manipulating past conversations. For example, I just saw one fairly recently where the person picked up out of a thread they were going to purchase a considerable amount of product. They couldn't come to an agreement on the price. They went back to the person after, talking to their boss about it, and they were able to provide a substantial discount. But the deal was it had to be closed by the end of the day, and the money had to be wired over. Of course, it wasn't to the actual account itself. It was to a dummy account, from which the money would be taken immediately. Fortunately, in that case, they didn't fall for it, but they were questioning their IT company as to how this could happen. How could you allow this to happen? And the IT company goes, well, it's not really on us here because it was sent from the actual people that you were dealing with. And come to find out, a phone call later, see how running a common theme here, but a phone call later revealed that they were just coming to terms that their email server had probably been compromised. So there's a classic example of spear phishing. It's where they're just using additional information to leverage what you have. We have some extortion emails that are like that constantly. I like to call them the guilt emails, but if you've ever received one, the email basically goes something like this. Hey, I've been watching your webcam. I watched you watch stuff, and it's me because this was your password. And basically what they're doing is they're using that password as a hook to give them authority that they really were on your system, and not that they're just trying to extort you from a guilty conscience, we say. But, they actually have this password. The reality is that password and your email address came from one of a billion compromised sites, and they're just trying to piece together that, actually rely upon the fact that so many people reuse the same password over and over for so many different things that this is likely going to net at least a small percentage of people who will foolishly pay this ransom for nothing in return because that person never had anything on them in the first place. So these are all different types of this concept of using information against you. And we're going to actually talk about this and why one of the most valuable things that a hacker can get is a business email account for exactly these purposes, as well as other purposes of leverage and essentially spear phishing at a much higher socially involved level. So we'll have fun discussing that one. But in the interim, I hope this helped. I hope you are watching every single email that comes through. And again, at any time, just pick up the phone and give a call if you're ever in doubt. Don't try to email back. Don't engage in conversation. They're extremely believable. They're extremely well organized. Just don't even engage. Just give the actual institution itself a call to verify what's going on. All right. So I hope this helped, and we will see you again next time. Have a great day.